Hey, I just watched the 1974 TH-Axe-1138, George Lucas's debut film, though this is the 2004 version that Lucas, now with full control and able to add um, some computer generated imagery and to color correct and to just slightly expand things. So it doesn't actually feel as bloated or as horrific as what he did to his Star Wars movies. Of course, I didn't grow up with THX-1138. That so maybe I would be as horrified by the changes. However, it was an interesting film. Very much in the sense of you get the kind of a view of George Lucas and technology from this kind of sterile, horrific kind of dystopia where, everyone is on drugs, everyone is heavily, heavily monitored, regulated. Everything is about this. It's a state-run, soulless, just grinding out. Like, the human beings are simply cogs in the machines, and, the main character makes the androids that police and oppress them. Yeah, yeah. So Robert Duvall is the main character. Donald Pleasant is kind of the notable kind of wild card. Someone you think is like he's almost he well I mean everyone is just the insane people perhaps the closest to sane are actually feeling like they're not fitting into the model. Striking performance by actress Maureen Moore. Oh, I can't even remember her name. Redheaded. Well, you can't tell she's redheaded because her head is completely shaved. Everyone's head is shaved because everyone's dehumanized. With all these amazing freckles, which you had to think it's like that's kind of that's a little bit outside of things. It's one of these things of it seems to have an ambiguous ending, though reading the Wikipedia page, it could be seen as finding human beings outside, but it could also just be there's nothing out there. There's just a sun burning the the uh, denuded surface of the earth. They're all living underground. Like they've done in everything on Earth, everything living, and now they're just living in the dirt, living underground, like the Morlocks. There's definitely echoes of H.G. Wells and his view and his envisioning of the future, which the Eloi and the Morlocks and all that would be interesting. Definitely get a lot of stuff from here. You think, oh, this does look like the evil empire and how things look like in that side of things. Interesting soundscape. That seems to be a common theme with George Lucas. He did surround himself with people of, making striking images, but also striking sounds. Walter Murch co-wrote it with him, but also did the sound design on it. Somebody who is huge and stuff like that, doing stuff like The Conversation, later stuff being like The English Patient. So really interesting that way. Um, yeah, yeah, a really an interesting, really interesting as a first feature from this fellow, uh, who would go on to, you know, doing much more popular entertainment stuff with the Indiana Jones movies, with the Star Wars movies, kind of going in the adventure way of things, of being kind of commercially, kind of like but you could see him going a different direction. This was executive produced and kind of nurtured by Francis Ford Coppola, a kind of a guy who very much stayed um, non-commercial, non-popular, but then I mean, you're following what your instincts are, and it's interesting what as a young man you start out with, and what you kind of grow into, and it's like, well, maybe that isn't actually my thing to do. Is this serious stuff? Maybe actual thing is to do serious, popular mythos of the sort of entertainments. They're space serials that have been dressed up because they've been so popular as more than that. But yeah, I was really glad to see George Lucas's first film. So yeah, that's my thoughts on THX-1138. Yeah, more videos later.